Hi friends, today I'm kind of excited to show this to you. So I came across we're going through scanning lots of my paintings and things like that. And we literally scanned 500 plus paintings from so many years of painting. And I ran across this little goodie and I thought, oh, I'm going to revisit that. So I've been playing with that, and this is one of them I did yesterday, and I thought was so pretty. Now I was kind of playing with my stamps, so this is just a practice. My stamps, I need to get some more ink because they weren't working very well. But I love this effect. So this is what we're going to paint today. Of course, I used my pink and my yellow because those are my favorite colors. And then I used a white gouache, and which you can kind of tell because it's a little bit chalkier and opaque versus the watercolors. And then I don't know if you can pick it up, but I also used those metallics that I've been playing a lot with. So I've got a little bit of sparkle in there, and I thought it was real fun. So we're going to go ahead and do this today. I'm painting on a card, but because it's so wet, I wanted to tape it down. And I wanted to be able to move my sheet around for the tutorial. So that's why I just taped it to this. And the first thing we're going to do is I just took random. Now, I've seen people, there are stencils you can get with different size circles. I didn't have that. So I just grabbed a variety of things out of my kitchen. I found this fun little shot glass, which believe me, I do not do shots. That would not be good for me. My stomach doesn't like that. But I found a little shot glass. I used to make little desserts in these. And then I found a lid. So I just went with various sizes around my card here. And what I'm going to do now, normally the stencils would be better, you guys. So I'm going to have to look for some of those on Amazon because you wouldn't have to draw them out. That's one thing I didn't really care for on here was you could see my circles. I left them a little bit darker so you guys could see them, but this is a perfect application of that kneaded eraser I've shared with you. And what I'm going to do, I don't want to erase like this because I feel like when I do that, it kind of ruins the texture and the toothiness on my paper. I use cold press 140 pound, and these are the Strathmore cards I've shared with you before. I've used those for years. And so you may not be able to see these circles now, but it's here, and I'm hoping I was able to lighten it up enough that it won't show through quite as much as it did on this one. And the other thing too is the finished product, what I'm going to do, this is a really pretty effect, by the way, this wash in the background. If you wanted to then go in and maybe use that background, and instead of these bulbs you used something like some little flowers or something like that, I think would be really pretty. So I'm going to freehand this, and I'm just going to connect strings like that. So I'm going to do this on the one we're painting here. And I think that's kind of fun. There we go. And I'm trying to kind of watch, so the brighter white circles are going to obviously be in front of the others. As you can see, I don't have the steadiest hand. So something like that I think is really cute, and just something different. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our wash in the background. I'm using my MeiLiang paints, which you know I love, love, love. For all you beginners, thank you so much for giving me feedback on these. You're loving them. They're such a great, of course, I wish I could paint with Winsor Newton every day, but guys, I just can't. Too expensive for me, so with the amount of painting I'm doing. So these are great. I've tried so many paints. They're made by Paul Rubens. Really creamy, really vibrant. I love them. I can't say enough about them. And the thing is too, is when watercolors dry, they tend to really lighten up. And what I have found with these is they actually stay pretty bright and vibrant. So I like that. I've got, you know, make sure you have your 2 wells of water, your wash and your rinse, because watercolors are so transparent and they will show the last color you picked up unless you wash your brush really well. I'm going to use, I have these Da Vinci brushes that I like, and they're just perfect for creating a wash. So what I'm first going to do is just create this wash here in the background. And of course I'm using pink and yellow because that's colors that I love. So what I think I'm going to do is just use this to lay down water, and then I'll go in and lay down my paint. Now, if you were using, when I used this sheet, this is a block of paper, by the way, that did really well with wet on wet. I actually just used my spray bottle and I sprayed it, and then I went in with my brush and wet the whole paper, because this is small here, but if you had a large area, it might take you a while to wet the whole area with the brush. And then I'm going to go in with a pretty heavy concentrate of my, if you can use Winsor Newton, the Quin Magenta would be beautiful. But here I'm going to use the Rose Red, and I'm just going to start going in and kind of tapping in here and there. I want this to be really washy in the background, maybe even some white spaces. And then what I did, make sure you wash all of that hot pink out, and then go into, I used Cad Yellow and just started touching in, very wet here. So this is all going to blend. And then I'm going to use, if you have a heat gun, that's perfect. I don't. I'm just going to use my blow dryer, and we're going to let that all spread. And I really like this background to be very washy, so I'm just going to blow on it a bit. If you feel like it's too wet, you can always go in. What's kind of nice too, what I used to enjoy about, now because this is going to pick up a little bit of the texture of that paper towel, I'm going to go in and just blow on it a bit, so it gets rid of that texture. But look at this beautiful fun background that we've got. Now I'm going to grab my blow dryer, 1 second. And let's see. I need to unplug something, but I don't want to unplug something we're using. So let's see here. Let's unplug this. There we go. And I'm so sorry, as you know, I haven't learned the whole editing thing. So I'm just going to give this a really, really nice dry here. Look at how beautiful. This would be really pretty, by the way. I'm sorry if you can't hear me over this. With salt in the background, I think that would be really pretty. I'm just splattering some water. Almost done, guys. This is usually pretty quick. And look at all these fun, beautiful textures as it dries. Now I'll know it's dry because it won't be cool. When I normally do this, I would just let this dry naturally. So that's pretty dry. Okay. Now I'm going to go in and hopefully, to be honest, I can't really see my pencil lines too well, but I'm going to do my best here. Now, the other exciting thing I have to share with you guys is I finally got my order. As you know, I've been using that mirror series by Mob. Where is it? It's right here, and I'm just really obsessed. So I apologize, you guys, because you have seen me use these so many times. I hope you're not getting tired of them, but I'm just completely obsessed with these. They are absolutely beautiful. And then I also recently ordered from her this Princess series, which is really pretty, you guys. Let me just show you a little bit of what that looks like. And I'm using my student grade, these Dagatos today. As you know, I normally use my Princeton Velvet Touch, which I love, but I'm using my Dagato today. Really like these. These are great for the beginner. You get a whole set of like 10 for maybe $15, $16. So let's use this silvery color and just swatch it out. So it's similar to one of the mirror colors. I don't know if you can see that. This would be perfect. I don't have dark paper, otherwise I'd show you that. And these would show up a lot better. I actually like the transparent ones because it lets the watercolor underneath shine through. Don't you love the name? Princess Series. Now this is similar, but it's got almost like a mermaid type green and pink in it. So that's another color there. And I won't go through all of these. Here's the purple. And she's got names for all of these, but I don't want to dig them out. So they all, by the way, I did notice with her paints, I love them, but some of them, when they dry, they do have a tinge of gray to them. So the more transparent, like this one here, and there's some of those in the mirror series, I kind of like those better because they don't dry with a little bit of a gray color. That's just me. And then let's just try one more. Maybe the purple. It's called Julia. See what that one is. Been so excited to try these. Okay, so see, this one does have a little bit more gray in it. But if you're turning the paper, it's got a beautiful... This one, some purple, this one, some green, this one, that purpley color. I really need to get that black paper because I think you'd be able to see those a lot better, and I don't feel I'm able to show you how beautiful they are. So I'm going to go back and forth between these two. Let me just get some water in these. Get them going here. So in this mirror series, I like all of them, but there are a couple that, like I said, when they dry, they do tend to have a little bit of darker gray in them. Here's my swatch of the mirror series. So the luminous, the opulent, they have a little bit more of a gray tone, but as you can see here, when they're put over some of these other colors, the other color shines through. So they've just been so much fun. I'm loving them. All right, let's go in and start creating these circles. And I'm going to start with my lightest colors first. And I'm not even going to use those metallics. What I'm going to use for this, guys, is white, This is my white Winsor Newton designer gouache. It's called Zinc White. I'm going to use that because it has a little bit more, gouaches are a little bit more opaque. And so that's why I'm going to use that. So I got this wet and I'm going to work from a lighter value of that white gouache. And as I keep building up and creating more circles, I'm going to use it a little bit more value of the white. So my first one here will be my lightest value I'm going in with. Very light, very translucent. You know, I always think of gouache as kind of in between a watercolor and an acrylic. It's almost like a hybrid, and I kind of like that. Now my background is just a tad wet, so I'm getting a little bit of the pink on my brush. So I'm going to go in here. Now I've kind of lost this circle here that I drew on, so bear with me because I'm having to kind of create these circles. And if I could follow my drawing, that would be a lot better, but that's okay. Okay, so I've got those two. They're very light. Now I'm going to go in on another one and I'm going to make it just a bit darker, meaning darker value, more paint versus water. See if I can find my line here. There we go. And I might have to go back over some of these to make them look a little darker, brighter white. I feel like titanium white would definitely be a little bit more opaque, but that's okay. So as you can see, this was very faint. This was a little bit more, and this was even more. The funny thing too, you guys, I might tell you about gouache is watercolors always dry lighter. What's interesting is gouache can actually dry darker. So that's kind of a little fun fact there. So there we go. That is quite a bit darker in value. So as I keep going, I'm going to keep getting darker and darker in value. Yet gouache still can be transparent. But if you wanted to, this is another little interesting fact. I don't use gouache often, but because, you know, I was saying it's kind of almost a hybrid between watercolor and acrylic. And with watercolor, the rule is you always go lightest to dark for the most part. Of course, there's exceptions and you could do different things. But with gouache, you could actually go dark and paint over it with a dark value of gouache, and it would paint over whatever's underneath. Where with watercolors, for the most part, unless you really used a thick coat and the right color, most likely it's got that transparent quality. The other thing by the way, you guys, I love using gouache for is I add it to my pinks and such, and it gives me kind of a pastel color. So here's one here. Now I'm going to really go in almost full strength with my white gouache. The other thing too, I'm just kind of telling you some notes that I notice about gouache, which I don't use a whole lot. I don't keep a palette of gouache because like watercolors are so creamy, and I can go in and keep these open. I just activate them, put some water in there, and they're perfectly fine. What I found is with gouache, that this is just my observation, by the way, that if I leave it in my palette, it's not as easy to activate as my watercolor. So I don't do that. And that makes sense because as far as I know, gouache I've only purchased in tubes, not pans. So to me, that kind of makes sense. That's why they don't, because it is harder to activate. When I've left it in my pan, it gets really hard. Kind of like acrylics, if you leave those in a pan, they get pretty rock hard. So there you go. I'm starting to build those layers. Let's do another one here. Let's see. I think I've got, it's so hard to see. I think I erased too much. But I think that's a circle there I've got. So as you see, I'm using a more opaque mix of that white so that it looks like I've got bulbs in the background, and then it looks like the brighter bulbs that are more opaque are coming out in front. So we've got all kinds of depth here. That's really fun. And then make sure you add some of your bulbs that are running off the page. I just think that's so interesting. And when I pull this tape off, we're going to have this beautiful edge frame around our painting. Don't pull your tape off though, guys, just a tip for you, until your painting is absolutely dry, because it will rip your paper if you try to remove the tape when it's wet. All right, so I think there might be one more here. There's really no wrong way to do this, except for I did want this bulb out in front. So I'm going to try and make this a lighter value. I couldn't see it before when I was in that mid-value range, so it got a little darker than I wanted. So I'm going to try, and I want to make it look like it's behind this bigger one. And what I might have to do is, well, maybe we'll bring this out in front. We'll just do that. Again, I kind of lost my circles here, so I'm creating my own circles. And there we go. We've got a number of different values. Of that white. So pretty. I love this. So fun. Now what I'm going to do, and you know, I'm also using my Degado brush for the gouache, because I've never really had a problem, but gouache can be a bit harder to clean out of your brushes, so I don't want to ruin my Princeton brushes, so that's why I'm kind of using these Degados. All right, so as soon as this is dry, maybe we'll just give it a shot with the dryer here and get it to dry. Excuse me, friends. Okay. And now I will go in and we'll start adding some of these metallics over this and give it some shine and shimmer. So I'm going to pick this one up, and if you've got this set, you guys, make sure you swatch them out so you can see how they look on when you lay them down. So this is one of the colors that doesn't look gray so much when it dries. It does have the bigger chunks in it. I think the one that this is, I can't see the side, but I want to say it's the reflection. And it's pretty clear, but it's got some big chunks of the silver metallic in it. So then I'm going to go to this one, which is a very fine metallic. Look at that. I wish you guys could see this. It looks like liquid silver. I just love it. And I'm going to go over this. Now, while I'm doing this, okay, so see, this wasn't quite dry. So it's mixing with that gouache a little bit. So I'm going to leave that alone, and let's wait for that to dry a little bit more so we can get the full effect of that. Let's see, let's try this. Over this one. Now really, like I said, you know, I would normally let this dry, which is what I did for my other painting here. I let this completely dry, and then I went over it with those metallics because I'm not quite getting as good an effect as I would like to. And then maybe this one here, I'm going to actually put another coat of the white gouache. Oh, let's pick that up. All right, well, you know, sometimes that happens. That's all right. I'm not going to stress about that. Let's put a really thick layer of that gouache over that. Yeah. Okay, washing my brush. Yeah, I'm using these brushes for this because these are $15 for a whole set. Okay, let's see. That's still a little bit wet. A little bit wet. Let's try this one. Okay. And we'll go over, this is kind of wet. So, you know, just keep in mind, guys, when you do yours, let the white dry. And I think it'll look a lot better, honestly. But let me hold this up and see if you can see how pretty the glitter is, or the metallic is. There you go. And there's some of these bulbs that are in the background and some whiter ones in the front. So I might even put another shade of the white over this one. Now that's pretty thick layer of gouache there. But I like it because it really makes it pop out front. There we go. Yeah, I like that. And this one too. Okay, so now what we will do, and I'll have to wash my brushes better when I'm done here, is I'm going to go in and I'm going to create those little lines, and I will stamp Merry Christmas. Now, this is kind of wet, so I would really probably stamp right here, but because this is wet, I don't want to do that. So let me play with, I've got my Micron pens here. I kind of wanted my 8, but I'm not seeing it in front of me here, so I'm going to use my 5, which is fine. And let's start adding the strings. Now, obviously, if it's lighter in value, it's going to be behind. So some of these may not, the string may not show the whole way up, if you know what I mean. So be kind of careful with that. This one is in front, but I may, yep, it did, be able to, so I'm going to tuck it behind that one because that one is in front too. This is in back. Although, you know what, it's darker value, so I'm going to actually make that pop out over this one. There we go. Ooh, if you guys could see the way this silver moves, it's absolutely beautiful. It literally looks like liquid gold. And then yeah, that's better. And then it kind of looked off and wonky because it was a darker value, but it was behind the lighter value. So that doesn't make sense for our mind. And then this one is a little bit darker than that one. So I'm going to go ahead and put that string over. And then this one too. Now you could use a ruler for this. My hand isn't the steadiest. And that one probably doesn't show. And there you go. So we're about done. Now again, you would want to let everything dry in between these different stages, but look at how beautiful these metallics are on here. And now that these are drying, I'm hoping you can see the colors. So if you were to use this Princess set, which is gorgeous, and I have yet to get my black paper, the Princess series, and over other colors, I think it would be absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so for the stamp, let's see. My stamp pad had kind of dried out, unfortunately. But let's see here. I've got these two stamps. I feel like I want to use that one because it's a little bit bigger now. That's still wet. And it's right where I would want to put this. So I'm going to play with it. I was hoping to use this card to give to somebody. So I really would rather that dry. Let me just give it a quick shot, you guys. So sorry. And see if I can get that to dry just a little bit. And let's see, I've got to order a new black pad because I haven't used this since last year, so it's a little bit dried out. But let's see if I can get enough ink on here. And isn't that pretty? It's going to be such a pretty card, I think. And it's got so much depth to it. All right, wish me luck here. Let's see if we can get this to work. Guess I could put it up here. That might be better. So here we go. Oh, it's a little crooked, but you know what? There we go. It's on there. Now I'm going to try and pull this tape off. For you, again, make sure that you wait for this to completely dry. Yeah, everybody knows I'm a little wonky, so whoever gets this card, I don't think will have too much judgment on my Merry Christmas is a little sideways. So look at that beautiful border we get. Isn't that wonderful? Doesn't that just, it's so satisfying. Now here I have to be careful because that is a little bit wet. And make sure when you pull your tape, you're not pulling it up like this. You're pulling it down as low as you can go. That's another little hint, so you don't rip your paper. Here we go, we're almost done. Look at how fun, you guys. I'm so excited for you guys to try this. And these are the Strathmore cards, by the way, 140-pound cold press, that I just love because the envelopes have a deckled edge, which I think is really pretty. And I actually have painted. Now see, that was a little bit more wet, so it just barely grabbed the paper there. It's actually kind of grabbing the paper here. So just make sure you let it dry. There we go. Love that clean edge. All right, and I think we are done. Look how fun, you guys. So go get your stamps. Get your, I really think this is the zinc white, but I think I would actually use the titanium white. I think it's a little bit more opaque. And, you know, start with your wash in the background and play with this fun mirror series. I'm telling you, if you haven't ordered these, although I think she's making a new batch right now, I'm just having a ball with them. And if you're going to use gouache, maybe, you know, just to be careful, use maybe a cheaper brush. I've used my good brushes, but just to be on the safe side. And there we go. Let me show you, by the way, the envelope, because I think it's so pretty. So here's the envelope, and it's got this beautiful deckled edge, which I love. Now, I have painted a little bit on the envelopes. I don't think they're made for that. They're not the same thickness and texture, but I have painted. I think if you paint with not too much water, you could get away with it, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's not going to come out perfect. So there you go. I hope you guys give it a try and have fun. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Don't forget to, by the way, check out my website, because if you go to the What's New tab, I am putting all the drawings for the month that I can, and you can just download them and they're free. All right, everybody, have fun. Thank you so much for being here with me.